Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line, he is from our affiliate in Tucson, Arizona, the Wildcats Radio 1290 in Tucson. Rich Herrera is on the line. Hey, Rich, how you doing today?
I'm still in mourning. I'm still in shock. I still am waiting to see whether the sun's going to come up with the news that's rattled around from one side of the country to the other about the Big Ten poaching, stealing University of Southern California traitors and the UCLA backstabbers.
All right, so for all of you listening at home, Wildcats Radio 1290 is the flagship for the University of Arizona, so there might be some heated comments here just to lay that out. But Rich, real quick, let's start here. I mean, all of this did kind of start with the UCLA and USC part of the story coming to the Big Ten. Was there any inkling or rumor that this was something that might happen?
Everybody was caught flat-footed about just the same way. I think it goes back a year even before that to Texas and Oklahoma walking out on the Big 12. Everybody was caught flat-footed. They just had a meeting of the athletic directors just days before the news broke that UCLA, USC were bolting. Nobody saw it coming. The president of the University of Southern California, Carol Foltz, had said, "Oh, no, we're committed, we're committed." The athletic directors, we're committed, we're ready to go. We have a new commissioner, George Kliavkoff, who had gone on a speaking tour, listening tour. He had gone to every campus, sat down with them. Okay, what are your concerns? What are you looking for? Now that I've taken over as commissioner, what can I do to make sure that we take care of our member institutions? No one said a word in South Central Los Angeles or Westwood, California. And then all of a sudden, it just gets sprung upon everybody, and it was shock from the Canadian border down here to the Mexican border throughout the Rockies. No one saw this one coming.
Listen, I'm a Big Ten country / Big 12 country, depending on, we were talking about this off the air, but no idea. Like, it went like this for us here. Hey, did you see there's a rumor that UCLA and USC might be joining the Big Ten? Oh, wait, it's true? That was our day up here. For you guys who just lost two big-name teams, I can't imagine what the shock was like that day.
It's like the Big 12. So for your fans that are Cyclone fans, it was like when you found out that Texas and Oklahoma had been secretly setting up a second family and they walked out on you in the middle of the night. Same thing here. We're talking about 100 years worth of history. We're talking about, they weren't charter members of the old PCC, which became the Pac-8, the Pac-10, now the Pac-12, but they're as entrenched and ensconced in this part of the country. The traditions of the Rose Bowl, the traditions of USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State. Arizona was a newcomer, joining almost 50 years ago, making it the Pac-10, and then we added two teams 10 years ago to the conference. But USC, UCLA, they're the flagships of this conference.
Yeah.
And to have your flagships walk out on you and just a double deal against you, it's sickening, it's disheartening, and it's shocking to everybody on this side of the country.
Rich Herrera from Wildcats Radio 1290 in Tucson, the flagship for University of Arizona. Okay, so today, as in July 5th, 2022, at this moment, because much like the Texas and Oklahoma stuff, the story keeps changing. What's the big rumor you hear today? What are you focused on right now?
It depends on whether I'm sitting there in Ames, Iowa City, or Tucson, Arizona, because everybody's spinning. So the Big Ten is sitting there, with the big smile on its face that they gobble this up, and then they're going to wait to see whether they can entice Notre Dame to join them. So that's part of the big story. If you're in Big 12 country, you were wounded a year ago. You're a wounded duck. You're bleeding out. You're not sure what you're going to do. You go grab Cincinnati, Houston, all the rest. You would actually approach the Pac-12 and say, "Hey, how would you guys like to partner up with us?" The haughty old people at the Pac-12 said, "Oh, to be around the likes of you? Like, I want to be around Iowa State, Kansas State, Stanford, and USC. So you're beneath us." So they blew them off. So right now, here's the deal. I know people on both sides of the story, and right now the Big 12 is trying to spin that they're in the catbird seat. They're driving everything right now, and they're the ones that are going to be able to pick up the pieces on the Pac-12. So they're spinning that the Pac-12 is damaged goods and it's dead in the water, and you might as well jump in with us. Pac-12 is trying to spin it. Well, we're not quite dead yet. We can negotiate. We're gonna try to expand as quickly as we can. And then we just got a press release today. The Pac-12 is immediately opening up their negotiation rights for their next television contract, meaning, hey, we're open for business right now. So you have both sides trying to tell a story, trying to get some leverage with the TV folks to say, hey, listen, we're really who you want to partner with. You're the ones who need to give us money. Remember, the Big Ten's going to throw out their media contract with their 2 new schools, and they're going to have, 3 of the top major TV markets, New York with Rutgers, Chicago with Northwestern, and then they'll bring in USC, UCLA to have LA. They will announce that around, I think it's Labor Day when they announce theirs. The Big 12 has their rights coming up before the Pac-12, so the Pac-12 is going to go, no, we've got 2 more years, but we're going to jump our media rights in here so we can stay relevant and try to attract some more schools to join our conference.
Let me ask, who do you go after if you're the Pac-12? Let's go down that road real quick. Like, who are you going to go after to replace that? Because frankly, when the Big 12 announced that they're getting, the 4 Cincinnati, BYU, South Florida, and what was the other one? Houston. It's like none of those quite add up to Texas and Oklahoma, and I kind of feel like the Pac-12 is in the same situation where it's like, who do you get that adds up to UCLA and USC?
No one.
No one? Okay.
No one. But here, okay, so can I back up for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I live out here in Pac-12 country. I love the Conference of Champions, right?
Yes.
If you took all the Olympic athletes just out of the Pac-12, I think the Pac-12 would be like number 3 or 4 in the medal counts. That's how much the Conference of Champions is important, right? I sound like Bill Walton, but it really is true. The Conference of Champions. I take away the top 10 athletes in the history of this conference, just pull them out and say, I'm not going to let these guys compete. The Pac-12 has better athletes than every other conference combined, right?
Yeah.
That's how powerful the Pac-12 is. Now, with that being said, Pac-12's a little bougie. Pac-12's a little full of themselves. Pac-12's a little got their nose up in the air and their little finger sticking out when they're drinking their tea and crumpets. So the Pac-12 had never – San Diego State's one name that you keep hearing about. The Pac-12 would have never looked at San Diego State a week ago.
Yeah.
They just weren't impressive enough. They just weren't bougie enough. Here in the West Coast, in California, there's 2 different state university systems. There's a University of California. That's where you have Cal, and you have UCLA. It's the big boys. You pay tuition. Those are major, prestigious public universities. Then they have the Cal State University system, which is the blue-collar university system, the college system in California. That's where San Diego State is. That's where Fresno State is. The likes of UCLA and Cal and Stanford even wanting to let people that went to those schools walk on their campus, you just be laughing. How dare you think of San Diego State to be even in the likes with us? It's that bougie. Well, now, if you look at it, UCLA and Cal had always been joined at the hip the same way Arizona State is, the same way that the legislators in Washington and Oregon are going to tie those schools together and say, hey, it's a package deal because it's a state system. Well, now the Pac-12, who had just laughed at even thinking of letting somebody as lowly as San Diego State, which, by the way, you need a 4.3 to get in and a huge GPA because it's so impacted. Fresno State sitting in the middle of the valley, in the middle of a dust bowl. They wouldn't want the likes of them. Boise State wouldn't bring anything as far as academic prestige to the school presidents that decide who gets into this exclusive Ivy League-looking fraternity. Well, now you don't have that anymore because 2 of your biggest members just turned Benedict Arnold and bolted on you. So now San Diego State looks pretty good, even though a week ago they were the rubes wearing board shorts and no shoes. Fresno State guys wearing coveralls with no shirt, and Boise State guys up there with ski jackets. All of a sudden, they look pretty good to these university presidents that look down their noses at everybody.
Rich Herrera from Wildcats Radio 1290 in Tucson, flagship for University of Arizona. Also, he's a member of CBS Sports Radio. We'll have your social links and all that at the bottom of the page here. Rich, one thing that kind of stands out to me after the Texas and Oklahoma stuff from last year, you saw that, what was it, like just a mutual understanding or whatever between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC that we were gonna be in this together, and basically they're trying to fend off the SEC at that moment. This is kind of crazy, right? I mean, that kind of, like, that whole alliance kind of gets shattered after this, right?
I'm just pulling the sound from Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Pac-10. Oh, I can't wait to work with George, and I can't wait to work with the ACC, and it's so good for us, and we'll be able to stand for the integrity of our students. Oh, I'm going to throw up listening to that right now. The interesting part of all of that was, and we pointed this out here on the radio and kind of laughed at it. There was no written agreement.
Yeah.
There was nothing that in writing. And they asked the commissioner of the Pac-12, why isn't there a written agreement? Why isn't there anything in writing? He goes, well, we wanted to make sure we don't need one. We trust each other. We're all men of integrity and honor. I'm like, oh my God, do they see you walking in? Because Kevin Warren standing there going, yeah. In fact, it's funny. If you go back and listen to the sound, I don't even think Kevin Warren goes, yeah, George speaks for all of us. He never said, oh, yeah, I'm a man of honor and integrity, and we'll never backstab the other two.
It's the classic, trust me, everything's going to be fine. No, it's not. The building is burning behind you.
Show me the money.
Exactly. Rich Herrera from Wildcats 1290. Boy, it is hard to do somebody else's ID tag when you've been doing a different one for a long time. Wildcats Radio 1290 in Tucson joining me, also a CBS Sports Radio. All right, as we wrap up here, I think the big question is, what do you think is going to happen now? Where is this going? Does the Big 12 eat up, half of the Pac-12? Is the Pac-12 going to survive? What's going to happen with Big 12? What's your main thought with all of this? What do you think is going to happen?
Two linchpins. You ready?
Okay.
What happens with Notre Dame? Notre Dame's just sitting there. They're the prettiest girl at the dance. They could go anywhere, and they instantly give stability. So if they jumped into the Big Ten, then the Big Ten gets bigger than the SEC by adding Notre Dame. So they're sitting there as the prettiest girl in the dance that no one's asked, and they get to have all the suitors and everybody coming to see them to decide what they want. It's also interesting that NBC, it's Fox money driving the Big Ten. It's ESPN money driving the SEC. NBC hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So they want to be in this college football game. So those are two things to look at right there. The other part is the Pac-12 will stay together if Phil Knight of Nike fame and as an Oregon alumni, he's got two schools that he loves, Oregon and Stanford. If he could step in and throw his weight behind keeping the Pac-12 together, the Pac-12 has a fighting chance to survive and will go toe-to-toe with the Big 12. Washington is the other thing to look at. The president of the University of Washington just became the head of the board of directors of the Pac-12, which is now desperately trying to stay relevant. Will she keep the Pac-12 together, or will she look for an exit strategy for Washington to bail to go to another conference? She holds the key to all of this, and I think everybody's going to react to what she does with the University of Washington, because that's Seattle. That's a huge television market, and I don't know if it's a brand that people will want, but it's probably the best television market that's sitting out there that somebody could go and try to bring into the SEC or the Big 10 or the Big 12 or one of the others. And I think she holds the key to the fate of the Pac-12 conference.
All right, there you have it. Rich Herrera from Wildcats Radio 1290 in Tucson. I got it right that time. That's awesome. Good for me.
There you go. Love it. I love it.
Rich, we'll have all your information at the bottom of the page. We appreciate it, man.
Anytime. Let's do this again.